All right, so we have a bit of a surprise fall. Darnell Washington, someone who a lot of people really liked, thought could go. I had him as a kind of a high second rounder. He ends up falling all the way to the end of the third round. The Pittsburgh Steelers, of course, they're the ones who are going to pick up the player who I think definitely has a lot of potential. There are some very fair critiques of him. Like I said, I did not have him as a first rounder. So I think having some is criticism the right word? Maybe criticisms, maybe just some reservations might be the better way to phrase it, is totally understandable with him. But I also think that he's someone who is a very, high reward type of player. And I don't think it's out of the question that we're looking back at this at the end of the day and saying he's the best tight end of this draft class. I certainly think he has that potential. So for the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is kind of what they love to do. They love to get these tight ends and these running backs wide receivers is what I meant to say. They like to get those types of players round 2, which is really smart. Get them day 2 in general, I should say, because this is not round 2, but day 2, which is just smart football in my opinion. You get kind of a player like offensive lineman in round 1, which is a situation where those players tend to be pretty accurate about being able to hit on those guys. Those guys have a much higher hit rate. And then for a position like tight end, which has a lot lower of a hit rate, still getting a guy who has a ton of upside is, I think, really smart. Now, again, a lot of people are going to sit here and say, wait a second, we have Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth is awesome. We don't need another tight end. And you're correct. If you're a Steelers fan, you do not need another tight end. That's not what you're doing this for. But again, you shouldn't necessarily just draft for need, especially round 3. Actually, I would say round 3 is when you can start thinking about drafting for need if you want to, but you shouldn't just draft for need. If you like a player, get that player. That makes more sense, because if he's awesome, well then, hey, maybe you don't have to pay Pat Freiermuth, or you just have 2 really good tight ends. One of the 2 is the option. But also, and we'll get into it in the film in just a couple seconds, but I think you'll see that he does a lot of different things. I think could be a really good complementary tight end, whereas Freiermuth kind of, he's the guy who he really does, I would say, do it all for the Steelers, has kind of no weakness. Washington has some weaknesses, but has a lot of strengths as well. So let's just get into why I like him as a player. So this is Washington's Pro Football Focus page, which again, for tight ends, does an okay job at predicting, how well players will be at the next level. Not as good at other positions, but not as bad at other positions either. You see, there's things to like about him. For one thing, good run block grade and receiving grade, or at least, solid at both of those. The overall 85.7 grade is definitely good. On the good side. It's great for a college player and good for a NFL prospect. In some, okay stats, not the best hands, right? That's kind of mediocre for college, so you'd like that to be a bit better. But other than that, the stats are pretty good. The one thing that's maybe a little bit lower is just the amount of snaps he's had, definitely on the low side there. But other than that, there's some good stuff. However, let's talk about the tape and what he does well and what he maybe needs to improve upon at the next level. So first, let's start off with a play like this. This is something that I would like to see him be better at, and part of why I don't have him quite as high as my top 2 tight ends is because I don't think he's great at just having a feel for where he needs to be in zone coverage. Again, you always have to wonder with this stuff, how much of it is just a player thing and how much of it is a coaching thing. Maybe this is how the coaches want him to play, but at the same time, it's Georgia. They tend to have pretty good coaches. I do think that maybe it's a him thing as well, where, again, play concept, try to find a gap in coverage kind of right over there, right over the middle. That's what you're trying to do here. Look at how, when this ball is snapped, you see right here, really, Washington kind of just ran right into a defensive player and isn't really doing much at all to try and get himself open right here. This is, in some ways, still helping to get someone else open, and I think that's probably what he's thinking here, but I think he could do this while also trying to get himself open, because you don't know if the guy next to you is going to get open or not. You do have to try to get yourself open as well, which he isn't really doing. As you see, this ball is thrown, towards the outside. Listen, maybe that was his job on that play. Maybe his job was, entirely just trying to set something up, and this is part of what makes film study difficult. Is I don't get to see the huddle. I don't know exactly what's happening, but I would say that I've seen this a good amount of times where even on plays where it's not helping set something up, he's still not really doing much to get himself open, which I would like to see changed a little. Going over here, so what's going to happen on this play, this is really the greatness of Washington, is, again, he's just a physical specimen, essentially. This guy is, again, I talked about the height, 6'6", 264. You can see it on tape just how physically imposing he is, but still runs a 4.6. I mean, that's crazy. A 4.64 too, a relatively low 4.6 for his size. That's absurd. And watch how he's going to show it off on this play. Watch how right when this play begins, you do see him be able to, go underneath, and he's open right away. And at this point, it's going to be really hard for linebackers to catch him. As you see, he is able to blow by. He is able to pick up I believe it got close to the first down. Maybe if he fell forward, he could have gotten to the first down. That's a little bit unfortunate. But again, the speed and the size is really what you like about him. He's very raw. Not going to deny it. He is very raw as a player. You definitely see that on tape. Like something like this, the blocking is definitely something that the grade was solid. There still is room for improvement here because, again, it's a good college grade, but is it a good NFL prospect grade is the question. You see him, he's flashing over to block number 29 for the defense. Watch how when this play begins, he kind of overruns it a little bit and really gets behind and honestly could have, is in danger of a hold here. Now, it ended up being fine as the player missed a tackle as well, so no harm, no foul there, but still a bit of a concern as he kind of overcommitted a little bit. And these are the kind of small things I do notice a pretty good chunk of when watching Washington's tape, which is something that you would like to see again. Like to see him clean up a little bit. And he's young. He's 21. He can clean this stuff up. If he's a 24-year-old, he's probably lower on my board. But I'm less concerned about a raw player who didn't get a ton of playing time and is only 21 years old than I would be if he was older, obviously. Like heading over here, I do have to say, when he gets in position, he looks very good. Like, again, his highlights are awesome, right? You have to take the whole tape as the evaluation, not just the highlights, but the highlights are awesome. And here's an example of what he's going to do here. Watch how he's going to flash around, and he does get to in position right here. So he's in position, and watch what he does. Look, he holds off that defender really well and allows the run to go the other way. That was a good block by him and something that he can do consistently well when he gets the hand placement he wants, which isn't always. So if you can fix kind of some of the technique, he has really sky-high potential, and it is definitely maybe a bit of a boomer bust type player, but I think even the bust scenario with Washington is a solid receiving threat who can do things that most tight ends can't do, which still adds a unique wrinkle in an offense. And I feel like pretty confident at worst case scenario, he could be a solid role player with potential for much more than that. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on Darnell Washington out of Georgia. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts on him? Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.